The morning air in the secluded village carried a crisp chill, a stark reminder of the challenges life presented here. A young mother, Tieu Nu, her face etched with a familiar weariness, cradled her son, Dewey, who coughed weakly. "Be good, my little one," she murmured, her voice a soft lullaby against the backdrop of Dewey's labored breaths. "We're going to the doctor now. Doctor will make you feel better." Her hands, calloused from hard work, gently adjusted his small blanket. Dewey, barely more than a toddler, looked up at her with large, tired eyes, his small body heavy and warm with fever. He was weak, a common sight among children in this remote area where nutrition was often scarce and medical care journey. The path to the nearest health clinic was long and dusty, winding through fields and past sparse homes. Each step was a silent prayer for her child's recovery, a silent plea for strength. When they finally arrived, the clinic, though modest, offered a semblance of hope. The kind doctor, a figure of authority and comfort, listened intently as Tieu Nu described Dewey's persistent cough and fever. He examined the child with gentle hands, his brow furrowed with concern. He diagnosed Dewey with pneumonia, a serious ailment for such a young child, especially one already weakened. He prescribed a regimen of medicine, a vitamin supplement to boost his immunity and specific antibiotics to combat the infection. "Give him these, half a packet each time," the doctor instructed, carefully explaining the dosage. "And no cold water, please. Warm water is best." Beyond the medication, the doctor emphasized the importance of a nutritious diet, especially for a child like Dewey who was clearly underweight. "He needs vegetables, fruits," he advised, his gaze softening as he looked at Tieu Nu. "Not just meat. And you can take fish bones, cook them down for a good congee. It provides calcium and strengthens him." Tieu Nu listened, nodding. She understood the theory, but the reality was far more complex. "Yes, doctor," she replied softly, her eyes downcast. "But it's hard sometimes. We don't always have access to fresh vegetables and fruits. And meat is expensive." She explained her routine of bringing Dewey for monthly checkups, where his weight and height were meticulously recorded on a growth chart, a testament to her dedication, but also a stark indicator of his struggles. The doctor, sensing her unspoken hardships, offered a small gesture of kindness. "If you need, I can buy some shrimp, some prawns for him. Just let me know." It was a quiet acknowledgement of her struggle, a lifeline in a world that often felt unforgiving. Leaving the clinic, the weight of the diagnosis settled heavily on Tieu Nu's shoulders, yet the doctor's compassion also brought a flicker of warmth. As she walked, she saw a familiar face, a woman she knew through her relationship with Trong. "He has pneumonia," Tieu Nu confirmed, her voice catching slightly. The path back home felt even longer, her weariness compounded by worry for Dewey. The small, simple house, constructed from modest materials, stood waiting for them, a sanctuary from the outside world, yet also a symbol of their isolated existence. Upon their return, a familiar figure awaited them, Ba, Trong's mother, an elderly woman whose face was a map of life's experiences, softened by kindness. She was a beacon of warmth and wisdom in Tieu Nu's often solitary life. "Oh, my dear," Ba said, her voice filled with gentle concern, reaching out to stroke Dewey's feverish forehead. "He's been to the doctor now? Did you get the medicine?" Dewey, usually spirited, clung to his mother, his small body trembling. "Yes, Ba," Tieu Nu replied, her voice weary. "He has pneumonia." Ba immediately took charge, her practical nature coming to the fore. She gently held Dewey, encouraging him to take his medicine. "This will make you feel better, little one," she cooed, her hands steady as she coaxed the spoonful towards his lips. Dewey, like many children, resisted the bitter taste. "No, not that," he whined, turning his head away. Ba, understanding, offered him a small cup of milk first. "Drink this, then the medicine," she urged. He took to the milk readily, his hunger apparent even through his illness. "He's always like this when he's sick," Tieu Nu explained, her voice tinged with frustration and love. "Doesn't want to eat anything. He's so thin." Ba nodded, her eyes filled with empathy. "He's always been small, hasn't he? It's not that there isn't food, but he just doesn't have the appetite." She knew the challenges firsthand. She spoke of her own son, Trong, who worked far away, a common reality for many young men in rural Vietnam seeking to support their families. Trong's father also worked far away when Trong was little, she recounted, a distant look in her eyes. "He only came home once a year, for Tet. I raised Trong alone, brought him to school, cared for him." Her story was a mirror reflecting Tieu Nu's current struggles, bridging the gap between generations with shared hardship and resilience. "I understand your situation, my dear," Ba continued, her hand gently resting on Tieu Nu's arm. "You're doing so well, raising Dewey. And it's good that Trong helped him get to school. That must be a great help to you." The conversation turned to Trong, the unspoken anchor in Tieu Nu's life. Ba revealed that Trong had often spoken of Tieu Nu, of her diligence and the difficulties she faced. "Trong told me about your circumstances," Ba said, her voice reassuring. "He cares deeply for you and Dewey. And I support his choice. Whoever he loves, I will support. Don't feel self-conscious, my dear. If you have any difficulties, any problems, please share them with Trong. He's a kind and understanding man, and he loves you both." This was a profound affirmation, a blessing from a potential mother-in-law, easing the quiet anxieties Tieu Nu harbored about her past and her status as a single mother. In Vietnamese culture, such acceptance from the family elders, especially the mother, is paramount for a relationship to flourish. Ba then gently inquired about Tieu Nu's own family, delving into the deeper currents of her past. "Are your parents nearby? Or did you grow up with your grandparents?" Tieu Nu's response was a quiet sorrow. "I lived with my paternal grandfather, Ba. He was near here. Then, the painful revelation, he passed away. Long ago." Her voice trailed off, the weight of a childhood marked by absence and loss evident. "My parents separated when I was young," she explained, her gaze distant. "And then my grandfather, who raised me, was gone too." It was a story of profound vulnerability, of a young life shaped by abandonment and grief, now facing the daunting task of nurturing another life alone. The lack of a stable family background, particularly the absence of a father figure, often carries a social stigma in traditional communities, adding another layer of silent burden to Tieu Nu's already challenging life. Ba's expression softened further, her eyes filled with profound sympathy. "My dear, you've endured so much. It must have been incredibly difficult." She reached out, her hand resting on Tieu Nu's, a gesture of unspoken comfort. "But you are strong. You must keep going. Things will get better as Dewey grows older, as he becomes more independent." She promised continued support, not just in words but in action. "I'll tell Trong to come visit whenever he can, to help you with things around here. He's busy with his work, but he will come." She understood that Trong's job was demanding, often requiring long hours, and that he could only return home when special arrangements were made. "Don't worry too much," Ba urged, her voice unwavering. "Just focus on taking good care of Dewey. He's a good boy, even if he is a bit thin." Later that day, as the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Tieu Nu was in the yard, meticulously chopping banana stems and leaves into small pieces, preparing feed for her ducks and geese. The rhythmic thud of her knife against the wooden block was a familiar soundtrack to her daily life, a testament to her unending labor. "Dewey, now feeling a little better after his medicine, toddled around nearby, his infectious giggles a fragile melody. Ba, ever watchful, sat with Dewey, playing with him, keeping his spirits up. "Don't worry about me, Ba," Tieu Nu said, glancing up from her work. "The taxi is waiting for you." But Ba simply waved her hand. "No, no, my dear. I've hired the taxi for the whole day. It will wait. You finish your work. I'll stay here with Dewey." Her presence was a comforting anchor, allowing Tieu Nu a brief respite from the relentless demands of single motherhood. As Tieu Nu continued her chore, Ba observed the ducks eagerly devouring the feed. "They eat so much, don't they?" she remarked, a gentle smile on her face. She gently encouraged Dewey, "Eat well, little one, and you'll be strong like these ducks. Your medicine will make you feel better soon, won't it?" Inside the house, Dewey, feeling thirsty, eagerly drank some water. Ba ensured he had enough before gently chiding him, "Don't waste it now. Put the cup away nicely." The time for Ba's departure eventually arrived. She gathered her things, her heart heavy with a mixture of hope and concern for Tieu Nu and Dewey. "I must go now, my dear," she said, embracing Tieu Nu. "You take good care of Dewey. Make sure he takes his medicine regularly, and cooks him some good congee." Dewey, sensing the farewell, ran to Ba, wrapping his small arms around her legs. Ba bent down, planting a soft kiss on his forehead. "Be a good boy for your mother, my little one. Ba will come back to see you soon." In a gesture of heartfelt gratitude, Tieu Nu brought forward a small duck, carefully wrapped. "Please, Ba," she offered, her voice soft with sincerity. "Take this for your journey home. It's not much, but it's a token of our appreciation." But Ba gently refused, her hand waving away the offering. "No, my dear, no. You need to keep this. You need to save your money for Dewey, for his milk, for his food. I can buy whatever I need in the city. Your feelings are enough for me." She accepted the sentiment, however, saying, "We'll eat it together another time, when I come back to visit." This refusal, while practical, also carried a deeper message, that her support was unconditional, not transactional. It was a reaffirmation of her genuine care, rather than a polite exchange of gifts. "I will call Trong," she promised, "and tell him to visit you and Dewey whenever he can, to help with anything you need." The farewell was emotional, filled with unspoken anxieties and a powerful sense of connection that transcended formal kinship. After Ba had left, the quiet of the house settled once more, but it felt different now, imbued with a fresh sense of determination. Tieu Nu turned her attention to preparing their simple meal. She began peeling large, earthy taro roots, their purple flesh promising a nourishing meal. She knew the taro could be a cheat to handle, a small price to pay for its sustenance. The visitor, a man whose presence was not entirely explained but seemed to be a familiar face, entered the kitchen. He watched her work, making small talk. "This taro is very good, isn't it?" he commented, perhaps trying to lighten the mood. "Very nutritious." Tieu Nu agreed, explaining that it was good for cooking into congee, a staple for Dewey. He asked if she had any sugar to dip it in, a common way to enjoy boiled taro. She paused, realizing they were out, and he offered to go to the local market to buy some. While he was gone, Tieu Nu continued to prepare the taro, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. The rhythmic chopping and peeling filled the silence, a constant reminder of the daily grind. She was careful to wash her hands frequently, aware of the irritating sap. When the man returned with the sugar, a sense of quiet normalcy returned to the small kitchen. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the dusty path outside, and Dewey, now feeling a surge of youthful energy, was playing with a small toy bicycle. His laughter, normally a joy, was suddenly cut short by a sharp cry. A sudden thought echoed through the air. Tieu Nu, who had been focused on her cooking, dropped everything, her heart leaping into her throat. She rushed outside, her mind immediately fearing the worst. A small figure lay on the ground, and beside it, a bicycle was toppled. It was Dewey. He had fallen, his knees scraped and bleeding. Her breath caught in her throat. "Oh, my child. What happened?" she cried, rushing to his side. The initial relief that it wasn't more serious was quickly replaced by a surge of exasperation, born of constant worry and the burden of his recent illness. "Dewey. I told you not to play near the road," she chided, her voice a mix of fear and frustration. "You must be careful. Don't you know how dangerous it is?" She scooped him up, a quick check revealing no major injury, just a superficial scrape. The incident, a common occurrence in any childhood, felt amplified by her own anxieties, a stark reminder of her sole responsibility for his safety. She quickly cleaned and bandaged his knee, the mundane ritual a quiet testament to her unwavering care. "Come now," she said, her voice softening. "It's time to eat." As dusk settled, casting a soft gloom over the small house, Tieu Nu prepared their meager dinner. A simple meal of rice and boiled taro, eaten in quiet companionship. Dewey, still a little subdued from his fall, ate slowly. The chair opposite remained empty, a silent space where Trong should have been. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the clinking of spoons and the soft sounds of eating. After dinner, Tieu Nu bathed Dewey, her hands gently washing away the day's dust and worries. She tucked him into his small bed, singing a soft lullaby until his breathing evened out in sleep. But for Tieu Nu, sleep was a luxury that often eluded her. She sat beside Dewey's bed, her gaze distant, lost in thought. A deep sadness settled over her, a familiar companion in her quiet moments. The challenges of her life, the absence of a partner, the struggles to provide, and the lingering ache of a past she rarely spoke of, all coalesced into a profound sense of melancholy. She rubbed the simple ring on her finger, her mind wandering, perhaps to the child she had lost, a daughter, a topic too painful to voice. The scene then shifted, a phone call cutting through the quiet. It was Ba, Trong's mother, calling Tieu Nu's own mother, a traditional gesture during the Tet holiday. "Hello, sister," Ba's voice came through the phone, warm and polite. "Happy New Year. I hope your family had a joyful celebration." Tieu Nu's mother, in turn, offered polite greetings. Ba then revealed a surprising detail. "I just wanted to let you know that Trong and I spent Tet with Tieu Nu and Dewey this year. We wanted to make sure they weren't alone." This revelation, a significant step in the burgeoning relationship between Trong and Tieu Nu, spoke volumes about Ba's acceptance and support. But Ba's call had a deeper purpose. Her tone shifted to one of concern. "When I was leaving, the taxi driver told me something that worried me, sister. He said he saw Tieu Nu crying as she left. Is everything alright? Has anything happened? Has anyone in your family given her a hard time about anything?" The question hung in the air, revealing Ba's astute observation and her genuine care. Tieu Nu's mother, however, quickly dismissed the concern. "No, sister, nothing at all. Everything is fine. There's no problem." Her voice, though polite, had a strained quality, a subtle defensiveness that Ba, with her years of experience, immediately picked up on. Ba, undeterred, gently reiterated her offer of support. "I just want you to know, my dear, that my feelings for Tieu Nu and Dewey, and Trong's feelings for them, are truly sincere. You don't need to feel any obligation or worry. If there are any difficulties, any family matters that are causing trouble, please, you must tell me. I want to help if I can." She sensed the unspoken words, the hidden struggles, but Tieu Nu's mother continued to deny any issues. No, sister, truly, there's nothing. Please don't worry." Despite the polite denials, Ba's intuition told her otherwise. The conversation ended with Ba promising to continue checking in on Tieu Nu and to send Trong to visit, emphasizing that he worked nearby. "If there's anything at all, just call me," Ba urged, her voice filled with a mother's concern. Moments later, Ba called her son, Trong. "Trong, my son, are you still working?" she asked, her voice tinged with a mix of care and urgency. "Yes, mother," Trong replied, his voice a little tired. "I'm just finishing up some work at the office." Ba wasted no time getting to the point. "I just spoke with Tieu Nu's mother. I asked her if everything was alright, because the taxi driver told me Tieu Nu was crying when I left." She paused, a thoughtful silence on her end. "Tieu Nu's mother said everything was fine, but I don't believe her, son." Her voice sounded strained, "And I feel strongly that something is bothering Tieu Nu, something she's not telling us." Ba, a woman of deep insight, understood that in traditional society, airing family problems, especially difficulties with one's own family, was often avoided to save face. Trong listened intently, his mother's words sparking a new wave of concern. "She probably doesn't know what's going on, mother," he said, referring to Tieu Nu's mother. "But I can try to find out what's troubling Tieu Nu. I'll go home, get her address, and go visit tomorrow to subtly inquire." Ba agreed. "Yes, do that, son. Just be careful. Don't let Tieu Nu know that I suspect something, or that you're investigating. We don't want to cause her any more worry." She reminded him to handle the situation with care and sensitivity, emphasizing the importance of not adding to Tieu Nu's burden. "Don't let her overthink anything, my son," Ba urged. Trong assured his mother he would be discreet. "You're home now, mother?" he asked, a touch of concern for her own well-being. "Yes, I'm home and resting," she replied. "You just focus on your work for now, and then take care of this." The phone call ended, leaving Trong with a new mission. He knew his mother's instincts were rarely wrong. He felt a deep sense of responsibility, not just for Tieu Nu's well-being, but for the silent battles she seemed to be fighting. Back in her humble home, as the night deepened, Tieu Nu sat in the dim light. The cat, a scruffy companion, rubbed against her legs, its gentle purrs filling the quiet space. But even the cat's warmth couldn't fully penetrate the shroud of sadness that enveloped her. Her eyes were unfocused, staring into the distance. Dewey, awake now, noticed his mother's melancholy. "Mother," he called softly, his voice a sleepy whisper. "What are you doing, just sitting there?" "I'm hungry. I called you, but you didn't answer." Tieu Nu started, pulled back from her reverie. "Oh, my little one," she murmured, forcing a smile. "It's nothing, my dear. Are you hungry? Let's go eat." Dewey, his innocent mind trying to make sense of his mother's sadness, ventured a guess. "Mother, are you thinking of my sister again?" he asked, referring to the child Tieu Nu had lost, a past heartbreak that Dewey, despite his young age, sensed deeply. Tieu Nu shook her head, her smile faltering. "No, my dear, it's nothing. Come, let's eat." She quickly moved to prepare their plates, trying to banish the lingering shadows from her mind. Just as they were about to eat, the door opened, and Trong stepped inside. His presence immediately filled the small room with a sense of warmth and security. "Father!" Dewey exclaimed, his face lighting up with joy. "You're home." Trong smiled, his tired eyes softening as he embraced his son. "Yes, my boy, I'm home. Are you hungry?" He greeted Tieu Nu, a gentle nod acknowledging her quiet demeanor. "Come, let's eat. I'm starving." We were celebrating Tet, drinking a lot, but didn't get much to eat. He sat down, filling the empty chair, his presence a comforting anchor in their small family unit. As they ate, a sense of normalcy returned. Dewey, now animated by Trong's presence, looked up at his mother. "Mother, it's New Year. Can I have some lucky money?" he asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. Tieu Nu smiled, reaching into her pocket for a small red envelope. "Yes, my dear. Here you go. Happy New Year. May you study well and be happy." Dewey, clutching the lucky money, beamed. "Thank you, Mother. Happy New Year to you too, and good health." Trong, watching the exchange, offered a quiet word of support to Dewey, encouraging him to study hard. After the meal, as Trong and Dewey chatted, Tieu Nu excused herself. "I'm going to take a bath now," she announced, needing a moment of solitude to clear her mind. As she left, Dewey turned to Trong, his young face clouded with concern. "Father," he began, his voice serious, "I need to talk to you about something important." Trong, surprised by the sudden gravity in Dewey's tone, listened intently. "What is it, son?" Dewey leaned in, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "I think Mother is sad again. She's been acting strange, like she's in a daze. I saw her in the kitchen, just sitting there, rubbing her wedding ring. I think she misses my sister again. She won't talk to me about it." His innocent observation cut through the polite facades, laying bare Tieu Nu's hidden sorrow. "I think something is wrong, Father. I don't think things are good." Trong listened, his expression shifting from amusement to deep concern. He knew his mother had sensed something, and now Dewey's words confirmed his worst fears. But he wanted to protect his son from the complexities of adult worries. "Dewey, my boy," Trong said, trying to reassure him, "you are still young. You just focus on your studies. Don't worry your head about these things. I will handle it. Father will sort everything out." He gently steered Dewey towards a more carefree topic. "Now, why don't you go and take your bath?" Dewey, though still troubled, obeyed, trusting his father's words. As Dewey left, Trong sat alone, the weight of his mother's suspicions and Dewey's innocent observations pressing down on him. He knew he had to find out what was truly happening with Tieu Nu, to understand the silent battles she was fighting, and to help her overcome them. He resolved to act quickly and with discretion.